welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan and today I'm going to be doing a set of 5-star predictions. This is a video that I've seen many other booktubers do. I love to watch them and I really like the idea of predicting books that I think will be 5 stars and then later being able to do a video once I've read all of the books to kind of do a follow-up and see how accurate I was in predicting which books I would love. So I have a combination of both backlist titles, which I already own, and new release titles that I don't own yet but plan to get either from the library or purchasing myself by the end of this year. So I'll go ahead and get started with the backlist titles. The first one is one that I do not have in my possession yet, but I have ordered it. It is on its way to me and I'm so excited. And it is Too Late by Colleen Hoover. Now I have been on a little bit of a Colleen Hoover kick recently. I've read 3 of her books and what I love about Colleen Hoover's writing is how emotional the stories are and how in-depth we get into the characters and how much I end up caring about the characters by the end of the book. She writes primarily romance, but my favorite book of last year was Verity, which is kind of a thriller romance, a little bit darker in tone and in subject matter. And that's what I think Too Late is, from what I've heard. I think it's about these characters who will do whatever it takes to get what they want. Maybe some other dark themes, I'm not totally sure. I haven't read a bad Colleen Hoover book yet, and I want to get to all of them, but I think this one will be a 5-star read for me. The next book that I think will be 5 stars is The Gracier by Kim Liggett. This is a dystopian novel that has something to do with the transition that girls go through from being girls to becoming women. For their 16th year, they get taken away. I'm guessing it's called their grace year. I think they get taken away to kind of go through that transition separately. I don't know what happens through that year. I don't know much else about what this book is about, but I love dystopias. This book has gotten some really good ratings and I've seen great reviews, so I think that this will also be right up my alley and I would be very disappointed if this ends up to be fewer than 5 stars. The next backlist 5-star prediction that I have is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. Again, I don't know much about the plot. That might be a theme in this type of video since I haven't read the books. I can't speak too in depth about what they're about, but I think this has something to do with a director and maybe his daughter and they get into some weird stuff. I don't know. I've heard it's pretty dark. I've heard that the formatting is really cool in this book. I think there's some mixed media elements, which is very intriguing. And I've just seen reviews from people who I trust and who have similar taste in books as me. I think that I will enjoy this. I also think that I would enjoy Marisha Pessl's other book, Never Rolled Awake, but I don't own that one. I don't know when I'll get to it, but I think that I will enjoy her as a writer and I'm excited to find out. The fourth backlist title that I think will be 5 stars is All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. I have read a few of Megan Miranda's other thrillers and I've enjoyed them all. I don't think any of them have been 5 stars yet, but I've heard that this is her best book. What I know is that it's told in reverse order, so you actually start at the end of the story and then it goes day by day backwards, so you kind of get the pieces filled in backwards order, which is super unique and I'm really excited to see how that works for a thriller, because obviously you would think that finding out the ending first would ruin the whole mystery of it, but I trust that the reviews are correct and that this is a good book, so I'm super excited to get to this one and I hope that it is also my favorite Megan Miranda. The last backlist title that I already own that I think will be 5 stars is Middle Game by Shannon McGuire. Books and Lala is one of my favorite booktubers. This is one of her favorite books of 2019 and has something to do with like a scientist who created these 2 twins that may or may not have magical powers, I don't know, or are trying to achieve godhood. I don't know a ton about it, but I think it's kind of straddles that line of science fiction or fantasy. I'm hoping it's more on the science fiction side, but I don't know. But either way, I'm excited to see what all this book entails. It's a big one, so I'm sure that it covers a lot and I'm sure there are a lot of surprises in store for me. So I'm excited to know what the hype is all about and I hope that I enjoy it enough to give it 5 stars. So now getting into new releases, these are all books that either have already been published or are going to be published throughout 2020 and that I think that I will give 5 stars, obviously. So the first one is Be Not Far From Me by Mindy McGinnis. And I have read 2 other books by Mindy McGinnis, The Female of the Species and Heroine. Heroine I gave 5 stars, absolutely loved it. Female of the Species I gave 4 stars, also really loved that one. What I love about Mindy McGinnis's stories is how dark they are, which sounds weird, but I just really connect to her characters and her stories. They're super intriguing to me. Be Not Far From Me I know has some kind of survivalist element to it, which is something I do enjoy in books usually, so I think that this will hopefully be another hit from Minnie McGinnis. The next one is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I have read Riley Sager's 3 other thrillers so far, which are Final Girls, The Last Time I Lied, and Lock Every Door. The Last Time I Lied was actually my favorite one from him. That one was 5 stars, the other 2 were 4 stars, so I've really enjoyed all of his books. I am sure that I will enjoy this one, and from the very little I've heard about it, I think that this plot sounds really interesting. Something about a haunted house, and so I'm sure it will be another knockout by Riley Sager and hopefully another 5 stars. The next one is a book that's been floating around BookTube quite a bit recently, and that is 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. The way that Kayla, again Books and Lala, the way that she described this book is like a love letter to the mystery genre, which is awesome. I'm excited to read about the perfect murders that are referenced in this book. I haven't read a lot of classic mysteries, and I don't plan to before reading this book, so it's possible that maybe I won't get as much of it having not read the books that it's referencing, but I'm excited to see how they're referenced and how they play out, and it just sounds like a really unique story that hasn't been done before. I also really appreciate that in thrillers, when it's just different, and I think this one will be, and Kayla loved it, so I hope and I think that I will love it. The next book is a deviation from all of the dark thrillery books that I've been talking about, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry, which I had on my radar for a while, but just recently there have been a couple booktubers, Chelsea Dowling comes to mind, who have read this book and absolutely loved it, like are yelling about how good it is, and so that makes me think even more that I may really enjoy it. Usually romances have to have a little something extra for me to rate them 5 stars. I don't love like the rom-com type, so this might be the one that's maybe a little more risky to pick as a 5-star prediction, but just because it's been so highly praised so far, I think that if I have a good chance of enjoying any romance, it's probably this one. And then my last and final book on this list is Lucky Caller by Emma Mills, which I have only read one Emma Mills book so far, and that is Foolish Hearts. I loved it. I usually am not a fan of YA contemporary books, especially ones that are light and fluffy, but there was something about Foolish Hearts that got to me that kind of made me feel nostalgic for the books that I used to read like in middle school, in a good way. Usually that's not a good thing, but in that one it was. But I just have faith in Emma Mills as an author, and that she'll write a book that I really connect with, and hopefully if this one is 5 stars, then I can go back and read all of her other books as well. So that is it for all of my 5-star predictions, 10 books in total. I sure hope that when I come back to do an update on this one, I will have been correct, and most of them do end up being 5 stars, but either way we will find out. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one.